Hey again, really great to see you. Today we're going to be doing another video on one of my favorite subjects. And I have a map right here. We'll take a look at this in a moment. But I wanted to say that I've fallen a little bit away from my video schedule, because you could say. But I'm trying to catch up. So I have about 3 or 4 videos coming up pretty quickly here. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects. So, we're going to be looking at this map here of Lord of the Rings. I think that was maybe a month ago now. I did a Hobbit on the video, or a video on the Hobbit. Which I was reading the first chapter. So today we're just going to be looking at the journey that Frodo and Sam, as well as Gandalf, took to bring the ring from the Shire all the way down here to Mordor. So we're going to get in for a closer look, but just for some perspective here. The journey was about, in real life terms, it was about 1,300 miles. So from, say, England to roughly Serbia area. So it's about 440 hours of walking. We're going to go through each of the towns and maybe some of the things that took place in the world of Lord of the Rings. And just kind of talk about those things a little bit. So, I hope you are all feeling really relaxed. And let's go zoom in on this map and see Frodo's amazing journey. So now that we have our map in place here, you can just see sort of the layout of the land. So as I mentioned, if you put it into perspective, from the US, it's about 1/3-ish size of the US. Or almost a half. And from a European perspective, it would be as I said, London to the city of Nice in Serbia. So that's about 1,350 miles and 440 hours of walking. So essentially, we're just gonna trace the path and Sam and Gandalf as well, and talk about some of the lore of Middle Earth and of Lord of the Rings as well. So let's start with the Mifflin Greyhaven, which is where the Astari arrived to Middle Earth. That's about in 1000. Also, the end of the tale, Gandalf, Frodo, and Bilbo, and Galadriel, and Elrond leave Middle Earth and pass the Gulf of Loon into the sea. So, let's start with the journey that was taken. So, we can see here let's actually go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And we can take a closer look here. So the journey begins in the Shire, which is located right here. And the Shire was the homeland of the minority of the hobbits in Middle Earth. And is in the northwestern portion of Middle Earth, as you can see. In the region of Erlenor, within the realms of the kingdom of Arden. By the Third Age, it was one of the few heavily populated areas left in Eredor, as you can see here. It is. So, this is not actually where Frodo Baggins was born. He was born in Buckland, which is another town close to here. So, it is colonized by hobbits, but not part of exactly the Shire here. So, that said, Saruman tried to take control of it for a very short period, but was killed, and that ended the War of the Ring. So, let's start with the actual town here, which is Hobbiton. The 13 Dwarves and Gandalf arrive at Bag's End, and actually, if we go back to the original Hobbit story, this is where Bilbo learns of the Lonely Mountain, which on this map, of course, is over here. But Bilbo learns that it's when he accompanies the dwarves and Gandalf on their adventure. So, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Merry are all arrested close here as well. So, that's where the story begins. And they journey from Hobbiton over here across the Brandywine Bridge and into the Old Forest. So, at that time, Black Riders are attacking Raiding, I think, in that near here, I believe. I'm looking for them as they begin. Now in the Old Forest, the hobbits encounter the evil tree, Old Man Willow, and are rescued by Tom Bombadil. So they actually spend the night at Tom Bombadil's house. And they then traverse the Barrow-downs, and they're captured by a Barrow Wight. And again, Tom Bombadil rescues them and gives them weapons and 4 ponies and suggests that they go to the Prancing Pony Inn close by. Here, look at it here. Now let's move to the journey of Gandalf and Aragorn and Gandalf actually meet here in Sarnford. Gandalf tells Aragorn of Frodo's plan to leave the Shire. And this is actually where Black Riders reach, and they drive off Ranger or guarding it. So Gandalf reaches Sarnford, and then he goes south to Arendor. It's just down in this direction. As you can see, this is the path that Gandalf takes here. He goes over the Grey Flood over here. So now we're going to go back up to. We're going to try to keep even pace with Gandalf and Frodo, Gandalf, Merry, Pippin, etc. Just going to keep them along the way. So you can see the parallel journeys as time goes on. So they're here. They reach Bree from the Old Forest at night, and they stay in the prancing pony. Gandalf and the four hobbits reach the inn here, but they find out that much has changed. So they decide to leave Bree, and Gandalf actually heads out to visit Tom Bombadil. So they continue on their journey onward here. As you can see, we have Weathertop. And Weathertop, they're with Aragorn as well, and they reach Weathertop around noon, which is about just a little bit before that. So that's when their camp is actually raided by the Black Riders. And if you remember here on Weathertop, Frodo is stabbed with the Morgul blade by the Witch King. So and this is also where Gandalf drives the three riders of the last bridge of Mithilthil. That's a tough one. But they pursue them westward, and they meet two others who flee southwards. So they're heading this direction here, across the bridge. So now we're gonna go. I think they continue sort of along that direction to the town of Rivendell. And Rivendell, it's a valley that was established by Elrond, Elven, so he protected it with the powers of his ring, then ruled it for 4,000 to 5,000 years. So it's a very important place in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit story. So as you can see, this is the journey that also Frodo or Bilbo took as well here, because you can see the Lonely Mountain and some of these other areas here. So Rivendell was controlled by Elrond, as I mentioned, and it was a safe place for them to stop along their journey. So, once they reach Rivendell, they try to go onward. So this is actually where Frodo wakes up with his wound. If you don't remember, he was stabbed by the blade, and this is the place that he gets healed. So, this is where the members of Lord of the Rings are actually chosen, because this is where they meet to discuss the Fellowship of the Ring. So once they choose their path on Rivendell, they head south along the mountain range of the Misty Mountains here, towards the Moria Gate, or the Gates of Moria. So right here they actually try to pass at night at the Redhorn Pass, but they are unsuccessful. There's a much easier journey they could have taken. But sort of along here, I want to say it's this direction. The Fellowship is attacked by wolves in the early hours of the day. So we go south here into the Gates of Moria. And the Gates of Moria are a famous and ancient subterranean complex in northwest Middle-earth. It's a vast labyrinth of tunnels, chambers, mines, and huge halls. It's actually in The Hobbit, and it's also where there's a big scene in the movie, of course. It's the greatest city of the Dwarves in Middle-earth. They actually inhabited it for thousands of years. The wealth was founded on its mines, which was mithril. It's an ancient, or fictional metal of extremely high value. However, it had been abandoned by the Dwarves, and it was a place of evil repute. So, it was in some dangerous disrepair, and the labyrinth with orcs and the demon of great power, which was known as Balrog. So Balrog, the demon who lives here, he's creates a pretty rough situation for the ring. They're headed in this direction here. So they're coming through this pass here. So they reach the gate at nightfall, and they're attacked by the Watcher. So they end up getting through into the mountains, into the labyrinth. And Gandalf cast down Balrog, the demon, from the peak of Celebdil. And that's when he passes away. So Balin actually, here's kind of a famous area, Mirror. I think I'm mispronouncing that a little bit, but it was an important area where Balin was killed by an orc archer long ago in The Hobbit. So the Fellowship end up getting through the gate and the labyrinth, and they enter the Dimrill Dale, which is right here. And this is actually where Lothlorien is, or also known as Lorien. So this is a forest. Another elven realm. You can see that sort of elven realms sort of span these various areas in the forest. And it's sort of near the lower part of this Misty Mountains range. You can see the Misty Mountains is quite a large mountain range. It's a very important geographical feature that sort of splits the lands up a little bit. So anyway, the Lothlorien was a forest, and it was also an elven city. And it was the place where Galadriel's magic really came. It was the power of her ring, Nenya, which enriched the land and made it a magic forest in which evil could not enter without difficulty. So the only way they can actually get into it is if Sauron himself comes to the forest, which makes it quite difficult. So, let's actually go just for a second up here. This area is where the Hobbit takes place. Over here, the Lonely Mountain, and over here is the Mountains of Mirkwood. And this is where actually it's important because it's the place where Gollum and Thranduil is attacked. That's sort of the beginning of the story of the ring. And this is where a lot of that tension takes place with the story of Gollum and everything. So now we're gonna go south. And this is another kingdom here. So they're continuing down from Lorien, down the Great River. And they're going to be going into this area here. And if we cut over here just in general to this area, Rohan. It's mostly a grassland. It's next to it's a human land next to Gondor. And they're a very close ally. And it's inhabited by the Rohirrim, that's sort of a land of herdsmen and farmers who are well known for their cavalry. It's very important, actually, because it's, for Tolkien, in this land, the history is grounded in the Anglo-Saxon tradition. So, it has a historical connection. Now, if we go down here, you can see Gandalf is coming down in this direction here, and this is actually close to a place called Orthanc, which is where he's imprisoned by Saruman. And this is where he is rescued by Gwaihir from the top of Orthanc in the early hours. And of course, along Gandalf's journey, the Black Riders visit Saruman, who lies. The Gandalf has confessed and gives instructions to the Shire. And that's when Treebeard releases Saruman. So, when, basically Gandalf is reborn. And it's sort of a complicated subject for another video, but for this map video, that's kind of the best explanation. So now we're going to be coming back over here. And this is Sarn Kabir. So they came down this direction here. And Sarn Kabir is sort of rocky and stony area along the bank of the river here. went on these rapids here, if you remember the story. And this is where they navigated through here, but they weren't quite prepared. They got through a little too quickly, and they were ambushed by orc archers from Mordor. So they paddled away from the rapid, and they pretty much went a few miles to the foot of the rapids and resumed their paddling the next day. So let's continue along here. I'm going to come back to this little area here. And this dead marshes here. As you can see, this is actually where Aragorn captures Gollum and imprisons him. So anyway, they are able to get through here. And this is when the Fellowship breaks up in this area here. Pippin and Merry are captured by orcs from the north. And Boromir is slain trying to protect them. And his horn is heard in Minas Tirith, which is right here, very close by. So Frodo and Samwise enter this direction. So we're going to go back over this direction here. To Daggerland. And this is a great treeless open plain. And this is where Sauron's forces and the last alliances of elves and men at the end of the Second Age had their battle. So the bodies of the dead decayed as normal, but over time part of the field became a wetland, which is here, the dead marshes. This is where the images of the fallen could be seen later in the Third Age. So Daggerland was the site of many battles between Gondor and various Easterling armies. So, Mordor and all this. And that includes the Battle of the Black Gate. And that, all those battles left Daggerland as a devastated wasteland, contaminated and unhealthy, with sumps of poisonous slick and mounds of scorched earth. So it was the site of many battles between the armies of Gondor and the Wain Riders. So now you can see here south is the area of Morannon. Now a lot over here, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum have continued along. They reached the end of the Dead Marshes, so they're sort of in this area. Frodo hides in sight of Morannon and actually leaves at dusk towards his journey here. The host of the West has set up a camp outside of here, the Morannon as well. So now we're going to go towards Helm's Deep, which is over in this direction here. And Gandalf arrives in this general area here. There's an Orient here. And he arrives at Edoras, just in this area here. But he's denied. It's where the wizards rule, and he warns Theoden of the Saruman, but is sent away, unfortunately. So, Now let's go over here to Minas Tirith, which is a fictional city here in Middle Earth, of course, and it's a heavily fortified capital of Gondor, and it's the one, I think for me, the iconic Lord of the Rings city in the movie and just in my imagination. It's sort of the capital or the climax of Lord of the Rings. And it's where they come under attack it's the sort of culminating battle between Mordor. So it was originally built to protect the capital, Osgiliath, which is right here, very close by. But the capital fell into ruin following strife and a plague, so now it's sort of shifted to the west. So that said, all of the characters really culminate here in Minas Tirith. Theoden, Ewan, Eomer, Gandalf, Pippin, Merry, Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas. And actually, from European perspective, this is like where Tolkien equated it to the latitude of the city with that of Florence, which is interesting. So Osgiliath, they reach Frodo, Sam, and Gollum reach Morgul Road here at dusk, and they see the host of the orcs and everything coming through here to attack the lands of men. So if we come look around here, this is where the battle culminates, which is on March 14th. And the Witch King is able to break the gates of Minas Tirith. So this is where they really gather all their strength and muster an army to fight against Sauron. It's also the location of the coronation of Aragorn at the end of the journey. So now we come back here, and Gollum leads Frodo and Sam into this mountain here, into Shelob's lair. And it's here that Frodo is stabbed by Shelob and then captured by the orcs. So if we kind of come now to this last general area here, we can talk about Sauron and Mordor. So Sauron settled in Mordor about 1,000 years after the First Age. That's very old. A long time, maybe thousands of years before the events of the Fellowship of the Ring and the Hobbit. And it was the sort of his pivot point for evil at that, for the Second Age and Third Age. And this was where he built the Mount Doom, he built the Dark Tower near the Mount Doom, which is here. Barad-dûr. So he built this Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower, in his stronghold, and he became the Dark Lord of Mordor. So in 1600, so that's like 1400 something years ago, he forged the One Ring and then set about conquering Middle-earth. And he tried to attack the elves. He was able to conquer, actually. I mean, as we remember, Eriador over here, the Shire and everything, he was able to conquer very far over there. But he was eventually repelled by the men of Numenor, which is an island kingdom to the west of Middle-earth. So you can see here the plateau of Gorgoroth, which is a high desolate plain here in Mordor. And it's the only known passage into the plateau, which is through these mountain walls here. So there's through the mountains, there is in Muth. I believe one over here and one here. So this is a dreary wasteland where fumes issued from fissures in the ground as smoke curl and settle in hollows, sundered in the desolation. 40 miles east is Mount Dooms, about 40 miles. And then Barnder, which they sit on the spur of Arid Lithul, which is dominated by the landscape of the plateau. Also now Mount Doom, which represents the endpoint for Frodo Baggins. Its chambers at the side of the One Ring was originally forged by Sauron, and the only place it can be destroyed. So, at the end of the story, of course, Frodo and Sam reach Mount Doom and able to drop the ring in here to destroy it. So, the Dark Tower here, Barad-dûr. It's an enormous fortress where, as I mentioned, Sauron rules the volcanic and barren land of Mordor. He uses the Eye of Sauron to watch over the Middle-earth. And the Lieutenant of Barad-dûr is the Mouth of Sauron, who acts as ambassador and herald for Mordor and Sauron. So it was destroyed at one point, but it was rebuilt in the Third Age, which is the Age of Fellowship. And it was about 67 years before the War of the Ring. As the Dark Tower is held together by Sauron's magic, it collapses upon the destruction of the One Ring. And we're just going to go back here for a few moments to Helm's Deep, just to talk a little bit more about that. And Helm's Deep is a large valley in the northwestern White Mountains here. And there's the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is very important. And that's kind of the direction of Gandalf's journey as well, as they all come here towards Minas Tirith. So this brings us to Gondor, which is one of the last areas we have to talk to. So now we have Gondor, which is very important during the War of the Ring. And this was founded by the brothers Isildur and Anarion. And it gradually decreased in power as the Third Age progressed, due to internal strife and conflict with allies of Sauron. So it was restored to glory under when Sauron was defeated, and also at the crowning or coronation of Aragorn as the king. So now we're going to just look at these last few areas that we didn't really explore and call it an evening. So over here in the northernmost part of Rohan, you can see the Wald, which is the least populated area of Rohan. And the grassy upland plain. So It's supported at the top here by the limelight. Now we're going to go down here to Lothlorien, which is next to or west of Minas Tirith. And it's where there was many battles, and it's where they also blocked Mordor's progression. It's the Rohirrim, the people from Rohan, rode to Gondor's aid. So it's also north of the White Mountains, just a narrow strip of valleys. So essentially, Lothlorien remained as the only part of the northern half of the realm for a period of time. So it also contains the Rivendell forest and a lot of fertile farmlands. So we're just going to retrace their whole journey here and take a look at the 1,350 miles and 440 hours walking that they took. So they went from Hobbiton here, through the old forest in Tom Bombadil, to the prancing pony at Bree. They crossed the East Bridge into Rivendell, down the misty mountains to the gates of Moria, through the land of the dwarves to Lorien, down the rapids, the field of Celebrant, down here through the Wald to Sarnkabir. And then, of course, here, Gandalf came down this way across the bridge, down this way to Helm's Deep, south, and they all met here at Minas Tirith. And now the remainder of the journey, Frodo and Sam, up through the Dead Marshes, through here to Mount Doom, to the Dark Tower here. This is where the ring is destroyed. And then back here, Aragorn is crowned the King of Men. And back over here, the Grey Havens, they set onward to new journeys and new places. So, anyway, it's been a true pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this map and a closer look at the journey of Lord of the Rings. And thank you so much to all of the amazing ASMR artists that have shown me support so far, especially to ASMR Arctica for his kind words in his last video, and of course he inspired me as well to tackle this subject here, because he does have some great Lord of the Rings maps as well. But also to many other ASMR artists, thank you so much. You are all amazing. So that said, have a really lovely weekend ahead.